Hi everyone, it's Latin Roses. Today I'm interviewing a naturopath all the way from the UK. He healed his asthma in a totally different way than I did, so I'm so excited to bring this information to all of you. Please, after you watch this video, if you enjoy this information and you think it might help someone else, then please take the time to share it on your social media. So sit back, grab some coffee, some tea, some water, some kind of refreshing drink. Sit back and watch this video. One of my most watched popular videos and shared videos is how I cured my asthma. I was able to do it with water and some dietary changes, but my next guest used a different method. In fact, some of my viewers had contacted me and asked me if I ever heard of a breathing method to cure my asthma. And honestly, I hadn't, even though this one particular method has been around for years. And my next guest was able to heal himself with asthma using this particular method. And I believe it's called, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, the Buteyko method.
That's how I pronounce it, yes.
Okay, so my guest today, all the way from the UK, is Kevin McDermott. Thank you so much for being here, Kevin.
Welcome.
I want to know how long were you suffering with asthma before you discovered this method?
It was approximately about 14 months back in 2007. My time then, I actually thought about this after the event, to be honest. And when I was working in a transport office, the yard was covered with dust. And when the HGV trucks came in, it blew that dust up. But of course, I had to walk in that yard as well. So I noticed that the vents then were not aircon vents, they were just normal fan vents. And I could smell this coming through. And it only took really a couple of days for me to start coughing, and that's all it started off really, as a cough. And then as so on and so forth, it progressed. And then when I went to the doctors, their first thing is always the same. Oh, it sounds like asthma to me, we'll give you this spray and, open up the airways, blah, blah, blah. Now that was fine. Obviously, it was just new to me then. But my mum, who suffered from this also, from her early 50s, I didn't really want to go down that path, to be honest, because eventually it obviously got worse and worse. And although the blue spray, did work and open up the airwaves, it didn't last very long. So I progressed with this over the next coming months until it got to a point where I'm thinking, I don't really want to keep taking sprays all my life. And why is it suddenly just come on now? It's not like I was born with it. Although I must admit, I do remember when I was a kid, I did have that little bit of, I think 2 or 3 months of breathing problems. So it may have been inherited, but I do believe it's because of the environment.
I just want to interrupt you really quick because your story sounds like mine. I had probably a touch of it when I was a child, but I was at work under a fan with a lot of dust and I started having coughing fits and it went from there. So your story sounds similar to mine.
Yeah.
So thank you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. This is where I think a lot of people, I don't think they think back to the very beginning and they don't analyze it enough to think, well, how has it started? They just accept that they've inherited it and that's it. You've got it now for life. So anyway, from then onwards, I was a manager of a company, a transport company, and we had a meeting in Liverpool from Manchester, about an hour away. And I went to this meeting. We had an evening at the hotel, and we were talking. I was coughing all night. I had the spray, coughing and laughing, and the combination of it all. And then, of course, at the end of the night, when we retired and I went to bed, it seemed to go worse when I was laid down because obviously all your pressure's on your chest and you can't get comfy. I was wheezing all night, and the spray again wasn't really doing a great lot. Just relieve it for 10 minutes, and then I would try and nod off and couldn't and sleep, and then woke up again. So I thought, well, I certainly can't go to a meeting like this tomorrow morning. It was really, really bad at that point. So I decided to text everybody and say, I'm sorry, but I can't attend this meeting tomorrow. I'm going home, explain why. But on the way home, I decided to call to the hospital because they have duty doctors on at night. So I decided to go in there because I was really getting thinking, I can't really go the whole night not having sleep and wheezing like this all night. So I went to see a doctor, and the usual reaction really was like, oh, asthma, don't worry, we can control it. It's well controlled now. What you need to do is take a brown spray now with that blue spray. And I'm thinking, deja vu here with my mum again. You know, this is what she did. And okay, the next day I went to the doctor's again, got a brown spray, and took them both. And again, yeah, it did relieve. You know, it did relieve the symptoms. No problem about that at all. But I wanted to be being in sports, you know, in football and becoming a referee. Eventually, when I finished playing football, I didn't really want to see myself doing sprays and running up the pitch and stopping and starting all the time. And I thought it must be an answer to this somewhere on the line. Cannot, you know, and that's hence how I started to go on YouTube and look for cures for asthma. And there was quite a lot of there, as you probably know.
Yeah, I do that. um, what is the Buteyko method exactly?
Well, when I first purchased this back in 2008, I've still got the literature on it actually somewhere, and it was basically, from what I gather, discovered by a Polish scientist who discovered that all the animals in the UK, if you watch them and analyze them, when they're running, walking, or whatever, they don't open their mouth because their sinuses are working as they should. Nobody should be breathing through the mouth at all, really, if you listen to this guy. And basically, because you're breathing through your nose, as you know, it's a filter, stops all the impurities going any further. Although I know you can still get colds, etc. But if it's working correctly, it shouldn't go any worse than a cold. Now, I thought this was interesting to read, to be honest, and I did start analysing animals, to be honest, thinking, well, he's got a point there. They don't actually, because when you see, if you go look at the African and you see lions chasing their prey, they're not got their mouths open, not going running after them, have they? So it made sense, really. Basically, the Buteyko method was creating your own carbon dioxide from your lungs that acts the same way as your inhalers do. If you just stop breathing and take breaths and hold your breath, eventually you'll be forced to open it because the power and the push of that carbon dioxide opens up your airways. And eventually, as this suggests, after 7 days, it was actually guaranteeing 7 days your asthma and all your allergies would be killed off.
Wow.
I thought, well, you know, of course I'll try it, because at the time it cost me about £15, which was about $11, $12. So I thought, well, for that amount of money, it was worth trying, to be honest. So anyway, I did this, and the first thing I noticed was after about 4 days, the mucus and all on the chest was very loose, and I could cough up very easily without much effort. And I thought, well, maybe it's a sign it's working then. And as the weeks went by, it was evident that I didn't actually need the sprays anymore. It was doing the same as the sprays. So I was being able to start playing football again. At that age, I was, I don't know, maybe I was about 40 years of age, something like that. So and as the weeks went by and the months went by, it got less and less. And eventually, I would say roughly about 7 months, there's just nothing there at all. Now, every time I get a cold, I go back to the same method to kill the cold off all the allergies in the same way. And fingers crossed, since those days, I've been able to run up a football pitch as a football referee in the UK without any problems, apart from being fitness, of course.
That's impressive. You said it took 7 months. I don't think a lot of people would have that patience. So what gave you the patience to know that this was actually going to work for you?
Well, it did work after 4 days. You've got to remember, all the mucus mucus does take quite a long time to get out of your system. Now, in that 7 months, I could still run up and down a football pitch without the sprays. So it did work more or less quite fast. But to completely get rid of the wheezing and the mucus, I continued with it. And that's what I found, basically, that I got rid of all my allergies and mucus. Now, only recently I've had problems with sinuses with nasal polyps, as I mentioned to you. And anyway, that's a different story, but I went on to another protocol which I've been studying, and it worked again. So when the doctors say there are no cures for asthma and polyps, etc., please don't believe them.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. Did you make any other changes in your life, like dietary changes?
No, I didn't. That's the thing, you see. Now, when you see on the forums, and the forum I met you on, and the thing they were saying about taking milk, keep the dairy away from you, don't take dairy. Now, as it happens, I don't have dairy now. I have coconut milk because I understand what they say. It does build up mucus. But If anybody remembers their asthma, certainly with me, I couldn't cough up anything. It was just a continuous wheeze and a continuous irritable cough. But I kept taking the milk, and the milk was producing mucus, but it helped me cough up what was there. So I'm a bit the other way to what other people think. I don't think it's a problem having too much milk as long as you can have a balanced diet. And obviously, if you want to go down the route of coconut milk, which is what I have now, I don't have that problem. But I don't think milk really was a major problem at all. So I just think you need to get rid of the allergy. To me, it was a chest infection, and that's what it is. But of course, they call it asthma, don't they?
Yeah, I think we might agree to disagree there because I
Why?
know I had a really hard time with dairy, but
But did you use the same method I used?
no, that is correct. I used water. I used
Exactly. Well, I agree with water. I agree exactly what you say because obviously that does thin out the mucus. So people were sort of saying, "No, that can't happen," but it does. Water does thin the mucus. It's like diluting anything, isn't it? If you have an orange where you have to dilute it with water to thin it out, it's the same principle. So it does matter that you have used water. I'm just saying that at the time, that dairy wasn't really causing me a problem because it didn't stop me curing my asthma by this method. It just killed off what was there, and your body was allowed to be back to normal again. So of course, then it was the immune system was powerful enough to get rid of anything else that was there.
and
So
that's very fascinating, and that's why I wanted to have you interview today because there's more than one way I think to heal yourself from asthma, and
yeah,
I never heard of this, and it's very fascinating to me.
the reason why I like the method, sorry to interrupt you, but is that if you're not buying any products, you're using your own body to get rid of it. So it's not costing you anything apart from the original protocol. And
Right.
that's I mean, I think now they do charge quite a lot for it, and that method is freely available online as well.
So how has this method changed your life?
Well, I've been able to do the things I always wanted to do. The sports obviously was one, and obviously running up and down a football pitch for 90 minutes with a break in between is a massive big thing for me because obviously without this I couldn't do that. And all right, I can take the sprays and go down that path, but I don't know what they cost in other countries, but they're very expensive in the UK. I mean, you get to a certain age, they give you free, but at that time I had to pay for them, and that was £12 a time. And they only last 2 or 3 weeks if you're using it regular, so it can become quite expensive. So it's freed me from all that, and hence why I became a self-taught naturopath then and looked in other directions and find out, well, if this works, surely something else will work for another ailment or another illness. And sure enough, in my 12 years now, the answers are out there. And I don't care what anybody says, the pharmacy, I'm afraid, are £1 trillion industry. They don't want you to know all this because it's just going to ruin their industry.
I agree with you. It's sad. It's profit before people.
Yeah, it is. Definitely. No, two ways
Um,
about it. 100%.
did you say you studied to be a naturopath?
Yes, I've self-taught my naturopath now over the last since I had this asthma. It got me thinking. That's what got me into it. And originally, I thought there must be other things now. And I've said already mentioned to you that I did actually get rid of my polyps. And I got rid of them really within 4 or 5 months of
Wow.
keeping to a protocol that I just stuck by, kept doing it and kept doing it. And eventually, you notice subtle changes. No dynamic change, just subtle things like you could blow your nose properly for a start off and you can breathe through your nose without opening your mouth again. But you see, because I had a chest infection with that, as you know, nasal polyps block your nasal passage, I couldn't go back to the breathing exercise until I got rid of the polyps. And then I started the breathing exercise again, and I've not had a problem since. So it's just getting there. But the most important thing I'll say to everybody: stick by one protocol and try it. Don't try various ones because you won't know what actually worked.
That's right. Consistency is the key for sure.
It is definitely.
So, Kevin, where can the viewers find you if they wanted to get in touch with you further?
Well, you can quite happily put them in my direction on Skype if they wish, or email if they prefer. I have no problem talking to people.
Okay. And is there anything else you'd like the viewers to know? Anything else you'd want to share about the Buteyko method in particular?
The only thing that the instructions when I was reading them was make sure that you speak to your doctor regarding the breathing exercise, because if you have a bad heart, for argument's sake, you have to make sure that your heart can take it. Obviously, I don't know what you're taking for heart conditions. That's not to say that it's not good for your heart either, because obviously if you're opening your airwaves, then obviously, like the sprays, it would have the same effect, surely. So to me, and as the instructions said, it could also help for that reason, and not just asthma, but other breathing problems, bronchitis, etc. It's endless, isn't it? Because they're all linked together at the end of the day. But the mucus is the important thing, to get rid of the mucus.
I think what was reinforced for me talking with you today is that consistency is key. Taking your own health into your own hands is essential to helping yourself. And we are not saying we are curing people. We are just saying what we did to help ourselves. And I think that the more different methods that are available to people, the better. And I found your story very interesting, and I really appreciate you coming on the Latin Roses TV channel to share your story.
And we don't pay for products either. We pass our information on to help everybody.
That's exactly right. We're here
Like
to.
pharmacy.
All right. Thank you so much, Kevin.
You're welcome.
Okay.
So the important takeaway is consistency is key no matter what method you choose to try to help yourself. Now again, we're not saying we're healing anybody, we're just saying how we helped ourselves become inhaler free. So if you like this video, hit like. If you want to stay in touch, subscribe. And as always, I wish you love, peace, and joy.